Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived for episode 29 in the challenge series. No, I'm an idiot, it's 30. 29 was the last one. 30, yes, numbers are very, very difficult, apparently, especially when you've had as much sleep as I have. Which is not a lot. Grand total of 5 hours, maybe, last night? Maybe even like 4.5. It's hard to say. But yeah, excuses aside, episode 30, we are very rapidly closing in on the first championship of the second half, which is the, what was it again? It's 680 cars. I forgot what we agreed to call it. I know it's not the Clubman Cup. It could be, but I think that'd be a 640 race. I don't know, but I mean, I guess I'll probably know by the time we get there. Gina hasn't really figured out those logistics yet. That's mostly her job. Well, I'm the one who has to organize the event. She's the one who has to organize the series itself, which that's technically what that falls under. I can set up what race, I can set up what tracks the championship goes to, but I don't choose its name. So we're waiting on Slow Pocahontas over there to figure it out. We start on the low end here for the first race. I'll slash it as test track. We've used this layout twice. We haven't actually used the village layout. That's like the main one. But this track's always seemed a suitable location for low-spec cars, like the 500 class, which is what we're racing in today. To start things off, at least. The starting grid is whimsical today, as the top 3 cars are actually just the 3 cars you could start the game with. Go figure, right? Alice Carson is the focal point of the race in her S800. I always want to call it S600, but that is wrong. It's not the most stable thing in the world, probably owed to its age, being that it's a 55-year-old model. Big bounce there as Alice gets ahead of 2 Mercury Racing drivers. Like I said, not all that stable. Carson about gets it turned for turn 2. Kind of shimmy wanted to go back down the inside, but somehow just kind of didn't. I don't really know how that didn't work. Kevin Bagstrom's car amuses me, both in its design but also in the way that it drives. It has the ultimate acceleration. It's basically got the acceleration of a 600 class car. But if you have to go over 100 miles an hour, it's shit out of luck. Because it tops out at 94. But it reaches 94 miles an hour so fast that it barely even matters, unless we were to race on a really top speed oriented circuit. which we're not going to because we're running the 500 class. These cars, They're literally too slow to run the roulette rounds. What? Roulette rounds. So I'm sure Drew's overtaken Kaneshimi. I think AJ might do the same in a moment. Down the inside of this non-braking zone. Not a whole lot happening on the other end of the field either. There's really not much happening in general. We just have this big, like, 7-car train being headed up by the 3 starter cars. Down the hill once more for Alice Carson. Now only 2 more corners to make, basically. And although she doesn't have the fastest lap, Alice Carson is going to be the winner at Alsace Test. Kevin Begstrom followed her from like 10th on the grid to finish 2nd, and Taylor Lynn... How did that happen? Hang on. That seems like a major thing that happened. So, they get the Demio before they even brake for turn 3. And they get to the inside of Shoji and AJ at the same time, and the inside line is the superior line, so that's 3 cars in 1 corner. That's the kind of shit that, like, the player does, but that's not really what AI cars usually do. Kaneshimi also followed Taylor through, but here comes Minako, almost made it 3 wide into the basically last turn, and so she steals 4th. Definitely the biggest loser being AJ here, who also loses 1 more spot to Kotori at the line. AJ was, I believe, 3rd. No, he was 4th at the start of that lap, and he ends up with 8th place, just off of being at the wrong places at the wrong times. Go figure, right? Some, like, Daytona, Talladega type stuff going on. Taylor up 3, Kaneshimi up like 1 net. Kochiya gained like 3. So here I thought there wasn't going to be anything else happening further down the grid, but that train in fact developed into more. You're green for the 2nd round of the episode. It's high speed ring. It's the 640 category. The focal point is Vincent Houston. Even though he's been around for, I think, 3 episodes now, this will be the first time he's been the player car, as it were. First time he started last. He usually started upper mid-pack a lot of times, so see how he copes with that. Considering he's already up into the top 10, it seems he's coping not too bad. He's gonna make it 3 going into the S's, and he breaks late enough to survive, leaving me and Kotori to duel it out for P8. I think I'm gonna lose that because I'm on the outside. Yes I am. Headlights. No headlights. And now Vincent catches up to apparently the US muscle battle. Seriously, what the fuck? It's a Super B, Mustang, Camaro, Challenger, Camaro, Nissan Silvia. One of these things is not like the others. And Houston has already overtaken them all. Nozomi also overtook Tyler on the straightaway, probably picking up some slipstream from Vincent. I don't know. I guess this isn't really a classic car either. It's modern. It's as modern as it gets. Mercury is probably still kicking herself that she never adjusted the gear ratios on that Challenger because, well, she'd be running a lot higher right now if she had. Instead, she's about to get overtaken by an Alfa Romeo in a moment. Yeah, that Challenger ain't getting you over 150. Meanwhile, here comes Kotori screeching by at 160 something. Kotori is about smacking the ring. And meanwhile, I'm having to battle Nittori and all of the real people, all two of them in this race, Jake and Trevor. It's ironic considering Trevor is here because of Jake. Oh, hi Thomas. Never mind, I guess I'm not battling them. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be surprised I'm suffering here. The Integra is not really a high-speed car, and not having a high-speed car at high-speed ring is just damnation, really. I mean, what's even the point? Goodness. Well, Fidel is in the race, but he doesn't really have many positions to his name, and Thrasher's big truck may have plenty of horsepower, but that's just to compensate for the fact that it also weighs a ton. God, I bet that's fun to see in your mirror. Good lord, that is a presence. Thrasher gets one overtake done, but the power band of this F-150 is just not there. That Sylvia still confuses me so much. Kotori is about to overtake Ring, I believe. Yeah. Nozomi is holding off several cars. Tyler's about done being held up. He's gonna triangle to her for an overtake, but that boss has so much power. And a lot better power band for that too. They're in the middle of one. I didn't know the NSX had top speed like this. Didn't know O'Reilly did either. Some slamming going on behind. I think Reen got into Jake pretty heavy. But Jake is instead using the momentum to try and pass the 8C. I don't think it'll work. Kotori instead forces herself down the inside of Palmer as sort of a defensive option. You can't pass me if I'm passing someone else, I guess. So I think Nozomi is going to manage to hold off Ty. But the very obvious winner of the day here is Vincent Houston, who's absolutely cleaned up shop at high speed ring. He'll cross the line and nobody else will even be in sight yet. Nozomi survives for second place, I would say. That's gonna be really close. That's Tyler by inches. If we had another lap, who knows how that would have turned out. I don't think Tyler would be on the podium if this were a 6-lap race. Just say that much. Nearly 3 wide for a P3. That's nuts. We didn't have any red flags this time. How about that? It seems unbelievably rare at this circuit that somebody doesn't lose their shit in T1. This episode seems to be going almost too smoothly. But, now I probably jinxed that. Although I have editor's notes in the next race, there's no cautions there either, so at the very least there's that. We know that that's a thing. Gina actually decided to leave some notes behind this time instead of just putting a bunch of ellipses. It's time for round 3. It heads to Suzuka Circuit with the fastest cars in the series. So this will be no small challenge just to keep the cars on the circuit. The focal point is Wayne Hansen, which kind of makes me wonder just how smoothly this race actually goes. Yeah, sure we have no cautions, but, you know, no cautions doesn't necessarily mean there's no crashing. And considering I see who's starting on pole, it's, you know, really hard to imagine that we don't go that way. Plus I see Brian Ice on the grid too, so that was interesting. Oh, Jesus. That's in the grass. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Francesca Fidenzi now has an F8 Tributo as well. I can't help but notice that she obtains this car right after Mizzotto's gets trashed. I don't remember it ever being sent to the scrapyard per se, so I'm not really sure what to make of it, but there it is. And from the scooches ahead of Nico. Now that I can just say that instead of having to specify a last name. That's brilliant. Double kill. Not really much of a battle. Dominic is very clearly leading the race. Hikari and Ellie really don't have anything to say to contest. They're not even really battling each other for that matter either. But we shall see if Wayne Hansen has anything to say on that matter. And I'm sure he does, because he always has something to say. Quiet is not in this man's vocabulary. Surprised he got that turned in. Yep, there it is. Off you go, Dom. That assertive rejoin does mean he at least keeps P2. but he's gonna have to really kick his speed up a little bit if he has any hope of, like, staying with the person that just pushed him. Could have doing a bit more than that. Big curb. Yeah, there's a hairpin there, Wayne. There's a corner exit there, Wayne. It's a little over halfway through the final lap of the race. Dom is doing a little bit to catch up to Wayne, but I don't quite think it'll be enough. Not a whole ton happening down the field either. So well, it wasn't the cleanest, but it was still relatively smooth victory for Wayne Hansen at Suzuka. I totally hate it. I mean, he did wreck DePrisco, but he didn't wreck him. He just kind of moved him off the track. Certainly a far cry from what we're used to seeing from the likes of Mizzotto, so you know how it goes. I'm surprised cars like Rice and Taylor and Eric didn't move up the field quicker. I guess that can probably be just owed to how narrow Suzuka is and how difficult it can be to pass here outside of really the final chicane is the most common place to do it. Spoon curve if you're brave enough, but that's not a heavy braking zone. Neither is turn 1 and 2 either. If you get alongside before turn 1, you can make that as a passing zone, but dive bombs into turn 1 are ill-advised best. You can try and get it under the hairpin if you can get your car to stay planted and stay in its lane on the way in, but that can be kind of difficult in a street car where we don't have a whole lot of aerodynamics. So I guess it's on to round 4 then, following that. I mean, relatively tame so far as Wayne Hansen is concerned. Third round. It's raining, it's pouring, there's really no reason we should be green here at race 4 at Spa in what could best be described as downpour conditions. You see everyone's just a little bit hesitant to even apply the gas at the moment. And who gets to be the focal point for this race but me, in my RX-7. This Thrasher's caught in an endless tailspin there. Yeah, the comfort tire runners are in a better spot right now. They have slightly better grip when it comes to surfaces like this. So DePrisco, Fidanzi, Tyler, no, I'm dumb. What? Oh, Nico. Kodo Kuno is not in a bad spot either with her intermediate tires. and Nitori is also on her intermediate tires, so I guess we're gonna have the battle between those two. A bit of not revenge, but a round 2 between Kodo and Nitori. Actually, no, I don't think Nitori was in that Tokyo Expressway race where Doshaburi won by hours. I can't talk over the rain! Oh my lord! Listen to that! Even worse from in the cockpit. The sound and the visibility are both worse from in here, and you can also just get an impression of how much I'm having to wrestle this car just to not crash it. Michiko up ahead kind of botched the exit there, so I mean, I guess we're gonna race through it. I may as well, you know. If we're racing through this bullshit, I'm gonna still pass you. Just can do it with a few extra hints of caution, you know. Kodo is up to second, but Nitori is quite some ways up the road. What a day for a sibling rivalry, am I right? To have Akira, Hikari, and Michiko here in the same place for the first time, I think. And this is the experience that they get. Downpour. Your electric boogaloo race car. And get clear of Tyler around Hikari into Eau Rouge. Nearly have a meltdown as I catch up to Maki on the exit. The two leaders are very far apart. Stephanie is even further away from them than they are from each other. Excuse me. At this point, the curbs might have more grip because they've got less water on them. But the grass might be a possible alternative at this point. I get up to third, so I am now leading the non-intermediate runners. Basically a consolation award at this point. I figured the Comfort Sauce would have more grip than this. Would have better grip than the sports tires at least, but apparently that's not the case, because Nico is making no advances, and nor is anybody else that started on them. In fact, they've gone backwards for the most part. Fidenzi is trying to stay relevant against Thrasher, but it's not. Oh. 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 I'm not really sure how she did any of that without crashing into Thrasher. It's just a fucking mess. There's no reason this race should have ever started. The moisture rating on the circuit right now is like 60. And I've seen like 70 in some places. I'm pretty sure at 60 precipitation or 60 moisture, you're meant to be on intermediates or heavy wets. Those aren't part of the regulation, so only 2 drivers who brought their own sets have them. Nobody else does. I won the fastest lap, basically just via the nosebleed daredevil effect, if nothing else. So Mercury is 11 seconds ahead of Doshaburi, and Doshaburi is 15 seconds ahead of me, and I'm 26 ahead of 4th place. Which looks like there's about to be a battle for as R4C3 C4R is making progress. Wait, did this thing just shift? It's different what it looked like it did. Porsche versus Porsche, but one's from the year 2000, the other one's from a couple years ago. So the robot gets the position, or I should say the AI, not the robot. Hikari has dealt with rain, but he's never dealt with it like this before, I'll tell you that much. I'm pretty sure most people here haven't, except for maybe the lead 2. I have dealt with close to it once, but that race actually got stopped partway through because, you know, the person who ran that event actually had some sort of self-preservation. But Gina's not on the track, so it's not her problem. I'm sure if she were actually participating in this event, she'd have called it off before we even started. But she's not on this track right now, so it's not her problem. It seems safe to assume that Nitori is going to win the race, considering that much of a lead over 2nd place. $37 miles an hour. That's a corner we normally take at about 70, 80. I'm taking it at 50. So yeah, Nitter is gonna win. She only gotta make the bus stop from here. The original wet weather champion. Ah! Oh, this woman is going to get a piece of my fucking mind. He'll take the front bumper that crash just knocked off and shove it where the sun don't shine. Piece of shunt, yep, we'll go with that. So, Nitori takes the victory. Kodo is gonna finish 2nd, distantly. And I'm fucking pissed. I'm gonna go walk my ass right into that office. And, she's not gonna hear the end of it. Because this was stupid, and I could probably guarantee you the only 2 people who enjoyed this race are the 2 people on the wet racing tires. But nobody else did. I'm sure DePrisco and Lynette certainly didn't. So, yeah, now Gina's costed me about 250 grand from a terrible stewarding decision to allow a race to go green that should never have even started. Ultimately, I think Nidori won, but everybody else merely survived. I don't really think you can say that anybody really won except for Gino, because she was never on the track to begin with. I'm about to... There's gonna be a bit of a riot. Not literally, but there's gonna be a troop of angry folks walking right into that office in about 5 seconds. So, I'm gonna go join that. I'm gonna go take this fucking front bumper and probably smack her upside the head with it. I don't know, it depends on how I feel. Alright, we are green for the roulette race. This is being commentated over the next day, because I certainly wasn't about to do anything for Gina yesterday. Not after that bullshit. Still not totally over it, but essentially I have just as much of my own duty as anyone else does in the series. More than most, actually. And unlike some people, I actually tend to them. A bit of a curious inclusion to this event. That's a debuting driver right there, kind of. This is May Bakaziri. I think it's Bakaziri. I don't know. They didn't actually pronounce it for me. They kind of looked like they were doing a Raven from Teen Titans cosplay. They were like wearing some sort of edgy cape or something. They dyed their hair, I can easily tell because they still got blonde highlights. I think I might know what's going on here. I'll be honest, I think I know. The hint isn't the what? The hint is in the name, but no, despite her inquisition, Veronica's determined that's not her sister. She thought it was when she first saw it on the grid, but it's not. The other debuting driver, the lighting in the tunnel is terrible, so we'll just give it a second. As Cam, the focal point, screeches ahead of his fellow new Audi driver. Yep, that's my mom. I mean, my dad's been here since the start of the Challenge Series 22, so it only makes sense now that my other parent joins the fray as well. She runs in an Audi TTS, so just the newer Audi compared to what Umi drives. So now we're up to 3 Audis in the Challenge Series. Oh boy, don't start losing count now. I'm pretty sure there's literally 3 cars from one manufacturer in this race. Probably. I'm actually gonna fact check that. There's 1 Honda, 2 Hondas, 3 Hondas. Yeah, there's 3 Hondas in this race. There's more Hondas in this one event than there are Audis in the series as a whole. And obviously there's way more Hondas than there are in this race alone. So Cam is speeding ahead of Maki, who herself is debuting a new car in this event. She has obtained a new F430. This is not run under Scuderia Fidanzi this time. And also interesting that this car shows up at the same time that Mizoto loses his. It's definitely raising a couple of eyebrows from me, but no, I'm certainly not going to complain about Mercury Racing reinforcing its top division, where we've only had 4 drivers up to this point. It's usually been me, Honoka, Nico, Ring. Now, Maki joins the battle as well, up at the front. Or I should say at the top. Thrasher screeches ahead of her. Pedonzi is also here in her 760 to F8. Let me just have Herbie. Interesting thing that my mom has to debut in a race that my dad is in. I feel like I may want to keep them separated. I have no idea though. It's hard to be sure with them. Well, there's the deficit pretty clearly defined by the panned out camera angle. And Cam is obviously catching very quickly with the kind of lap time like that. Oh god! Bit of a save there. Four-wheel drive assisted, but, you know, another tank slapper there. He's really pushing the hell out of this R8. It's not exactly an easy thing to do to push this car confidently. Trust me, I know. I drove one at one point. It was not fun. He's closing in on the lead R34. A category lower than it. But ultimately, we've seen weirder shit happen than that. But Eric is closing in quickly, and he's also in the top division, so Cam needs to make some snappy work out of the Skyline if he's going to sort of make good his escape plan. Hikari is just kind of there in the way. Unfortunately, Cam's all-wheel drive exit acceleration doesn't help much against the Skyline, which, you know, also has all-wheel drive. You know, on the same straight as Eric, so Cam, again, needs to finish this fast. If he's gonna pass him at all, which it looks like he might. Yeah, Hikari just backed out there. These two corners is much of a risk to go too wide in, and you'll just lose more time doing it. But I wonder if Hikari may have damned himself there, because now he's lost a lot of time to Cam. Backing out of that fight, he may not be able to catch back up to him again now that Cam is in clean air. Cam is really out here driving like it's Gran Turismo 1. He is partying like it's 1997 right now. I mean, I suppose you may as well try and incite a bit of oversteer. You got four-wheel drive, you can obviously correct it with little to no issues, usually. Eric is slowly gaining, but he's not gaining as fast as he was before, probably because they stopped fighting up here. I guess that's maybe the other way you can look at it. Maybe Hikari just let Cam go, stop fighting him, and preserve second place. Take his, you know, basically take his winnings now. This race is pretty badly spread out from like third back. Up to this point, my mom is still leading the 680 class. But the other 3 680 cars in the race are somewhere in pursuit, relatively speaking. Cam is just... he's running away with it now. Oh, Jesus! Some more Gran Turismo 1 driving. Well, Thrasher's caught me, but that's about all that's happening. Not in, at least in this part of the grid. You can tell this S2K was kind of thrown together in a haste, since there's not really a whole lot going on it. We've begun the final lap, at least for a few drivers. Veronica has been saved by the weird way this game handles race timers, because that means that their race is over, so Francesca could not pass her. Francesca in a 760 car has lost to all of the 720s. My mother's debut, she wins the 680 category. It's a drag race. Tyler's second drag race to the line of the episode. But this time he loses out to my dad at the very last possible second. I'm dying! So Jake wins the 640 class and is actually catching up to Otto Koskinen, a class above him. This is registered in 640, but she almost got passed by a 600 car. And she may get passed by Martin Simpson at the last minute here. So, yeah, Alice Carson wins the 2-car battle for the 600 category. And Cam, well, ends up grabbing the victory in a 720 class. Plenty of oversteer involved by all. He will not be taking the fastest lap, but he doesn't need it if he's won the race. Hikari technically wins in the 760 category, but he still doesn't win overall. Yeah, so definitely not Francesca's finest work. A 720 class car wins the race. A debuting 680 class car wins its category. And a debuting 640 class car nearly loses to a 600 class variant of the exact same car. Quite a race. But that'll do it for episode 30. And episode 31 is going to be interesting. The last episode before the first championship of the second half of the season. So everyone's going to be pushing themselves a little bit further in the 680 races, and there's going to be quite a few of them in the episode. So yeah, until then.